Drive this F1 prototype and I'll give you my job. The words hit the rooftop like a slap. Not because they were generous, but because they were bait. Sloane Whitaker stood in a crisp white suit with a red silk scarf at her throat, one hand on her hip, the other holding a black key fob like it was a dog treat. Behind her, a row of investors and executives formed a neat semicircle, smiles sharpened for the cameras. The prototype sat under floodlights, all carbon fiber curves and yellow brake calipers, looking less like a car and more like a threat. And standing a few steps away in a Navy security uniform, a lanyard that read "Contract," was Desmond Price. He did not flinch. He just stared at the vehicle the way a pilot stares at a plane before takeoff, not admiring it, measuring it. Sloane flicked the key fob towards him. It bounced once on the concrete and skittered to his boots. Phones lifted. A couple of people laughed too quickly. "Go on," she said. "One lap around the track. If you do not stall it, scrape it, or cry, I'll resign Monday morning and let you run the company." More laughter. The COO, Ethan Griggs, laughed loudest. Desmond bent slowly, picked up the fob and turned it over in his palm. He didn't look at Sloane. He looked past her, at the men in suits, at their polished shoes, at the way they leaned in like they were about to watch an animal do a trick. Then he looked at the car again. A tiny detail caught his eye. A faint smear near the left front wheel well. Not oil, not dirt. A thin, reddish line like someone had wiped a gloved finger and missed a spot. His jaw tightened once, then relaxed. He lifted his head. "You want me to drive it?" he asked. Sloane's smile widened. "I want you to try." Desmond nodded as if she had just asked him to hold a door open. "All right," he said, and something about the calm in his voice made a couple of people stop laughing. "Before we go any further, quick one. Drop in the comments where you're watching from, city or state, or even just your country if you're outside the U.S. And if you're here for stories that stand for dignity, fairness, and real accountability, hit like and subscribe. Now back to this rooftop. Desmond walked towards the prototype. Up close, it was louder, even sitting still. Not the engine, the presence, the kind of machine that promised speed and punished mistakes. Sloane followed a step behind him, close enough that her perfume mixed with the sharp scent of rubber and hot metal from the lights. "You look nervous," she said, low, so the microphones would miss it but the cameras would catch her smirk. "I look careful," Desmond replied. He reached for the door handle. It was locked. He pressed the fob. The lights blinked. A beat. Then the doors unlocked with a soft click. Desmond paused. Not because the click was strange, but because the delay was. Sloane climbed into the driver's seat like she belonged there. She did not. She belonged in boardrooms, in magazine covers, in speeches about disruption and dominance. But she slid into the seat anyway and adjusted the mirror with the confidence of someone who had never had to doubt herself. "You can sit, passenger," she said. "You'll be safer where I can see you." The investors laughed again, relieved to have permission. Desmond got into the passenger seat, pulled the door shut, and let his eyes sweep the dashboard. He did not touch anything yet. He listened. Cars talk, if you have spent enough years hearing what they do when no one is watching. Sloane pressed the start button. The engine barked to life, a clean, angry sound that bounced off the rooftop walls. The crowd cheered. Sloane grinned and looked over at Desmond. "Ready to lose your little job?" she asked. Desmond stared ahead through the windscreen at the track entrance below, lit in bright white and lined with yellow cones. He could feel the cameras on them like heat. He could also feel something else, a subtle vibration in the steering column, a faint pulse that did not match the idle. Not panic, not fear. A warning. Desmond reached down, very calmly, and clicked his seatbelt. Then he did the same for hers, pulling it across her chest and locking it in place before she could refuse. Sloane's smile faltered just for a second. "Don't touch me," she hissed. Desmond did not look at her. "You're on camera," he said. "If something goes wrong, you'll want people to remember you as someone who listened." Sloane's eyes narrowed. Ethan Griggs leaned in at the open window. "Sloan, keep it clean. One lap. Easy." She smirked at him. "I'm not the one who needs luck." Desmond finally turned his head and met Ethan's eyes. Ethan's grin did not reach his pupils. His hand was trembling slightly on the window frame, and on his wrist, beneath an expensive watch, Desmond saw the edge of a fresh bandage, as if someone had scraped him and he had covered it in a hurry. Desmond looked back forward. Sloan eased the car forward. The rooftop gate opened. And as the prototype rolled down towards the test track, Desmond's mind flashed back to the first time he had ever been made invisible. 6 months earlier. Not on a rooftop, in a conference room that smelled like burnt coffee and cheap apologies. Desmond Price sat at the end of a long table, a folder in front of him labeled, "Safety Sign Off." On the other side sat a row of men who had never risked their own bodies for any machine. They had risked other people's. A man in a gray suit slid a pen towards Desmond. "Just sign," the man said. "You're slowing the program." Desmond opened the folder and pointed to a highlighted section. "The steering feedback is inconsistent at high load," he said. "It's not ready." A different man scoffed. "We have a launch date." Desmond looked at them one by one. "I'm telling you," he said, "if you put a human in that car at speed with this fault, you're rolling dice with their life." The man with the pen leaned back. "We've been patient with you." Desmond kept his voice steady. "I'm being responsible." "Responsible?" Someone laughed. "You're being difficult." Desmond's hands stayed flat on the table. He remembered his old instructor's voice from years ago. "Stay calm. Stay precise. Let the facts speak." He slid the pen back. "I won't sign," he said. The room chilled. The man in gray suit's smile turned thin. "Then we'll find someone who will." 2 weeks later, there was a crash. A test driver walked away with a limp that never fully healed. The press release called it an unfortunate anomaly. Behind closed doors, Desmond was blamed, blacklisted. His credentials meant nothing to people who needed a scapegoat more than they needed the truth. By the time he took a security job at Apex Automotive, he had learned something that hurt more than the demotion. A uniform can erase you. It can turn you into background noise. It can make rich people comfortable enough to tell the truth out loud because they assume you are too small to matter. Now, as the prototype swept onto the test track with Sloan at the wheel, Desmond watched her grip the steering like she was holding a trophy. The track stretched ahead in bright, clean lines, floodlights reflecting off the car's black body like a mirror. Apex Automotive's headquarters towered nearby, glass and steel, a monument to money. And above it all was a banner that read, in huge letters, "Launch on the 15th. The 15th. Desmond had been seeing that date everywhere, on memos left in printers, on sticky notes in the lift, on Ethan Griggs's phone screen when he thought no one was watching. The 15th, or we're done. The 15th. Payment due. The 15th. A countdown disguised as a deadline. Sloan accelerated. The car surged forward. The crowd on the rooftop watched on a giant screen, cheering as the prototype carved the first curve like it was on rails. Sloan laughed. "See?" she said. "Perfect." Desmond kept his eyes on the dash. A warning icon flickered for half a second, then disappeared. Sloan did not notice. Desmond did. He leaned slightly as if adjusting his posture and glanced at the lower panel where the system notifications would appear. Nothing now. Too clean. Too quiet. He looked at Sloan's hands, tight, overconfident. He looked at the track ahead, a straight stretch leading into a hard bend, the kind of bend that punished ego. Sloan pushed harder. The engine screamed. The speed climbed. Desmond felt the steering vibration change, subtle, like a heartbeat that skipped. He spoke calmly. "Ease off," he said. Sloan scoffed. "Why?" "Because you don't know this car," he said, "and it doesn't know you." She glanced at him with irritation. "Are you scared?" Desmond did not raise his voice. "No," he said. "I'm listening." Sloan rolled her eyes and kept accelerating. Then it happened. Not an explosion, not smoke, just a sudden stiffness in the steering, like the wheel had turned to stone. Sloane's smile vanished. "What the hell?" she snapped, yanking the wheel. The car twitched. Desmond's voice stayed level. "Do not jerk it," he said. "Keep it straight. Let it settle." Sloane's breathing sped up. "It's locked." "It's resisting," Desmond corrected. "Not locked. Reduce power. Slow down gradually." Sloane slammed her foot off the accelerator too fast. The car lurched. The bend came closer. On the screen, the crowd's cheers turned into scattered gasps. Desmond could hear it even through the glass, like fear leaking through speakers. He leaned in slightly, steadying his tone. "Look at the lane," he said. "Not the wall. Eyes up, straight line, gentle brake." Sloane's hands shook. "I can't." "Yes, you can," Desmond said. "You can follow steps. You do that every day in meetings. Do it now." Sloane swallowed. She eased the brake, softer this time. The car slowed, still fighting her hands. Desmond reached toward the center console but stopped himself, not because he did not know what to do, because he needed her to do it. If he grabbed control, she would freeze and blame him. If she followed, she would live. "Hazards," he said. "What?" she barked. "Press hazards," he said. "Now." She hit the button. The blinkers flashed. A small thing, but it mattered. It turned panic into process. "Now," Desmond said. "Stay in the center. Let the speed bleed. Do not fight it." Sloane's jaw clenched. Tears pooled, not from sadness, from fury that she was not in control. The car slowed enough for the system to catch. The stiffness eased slightly. Desmond pointed. "When you feel it release, guide it, not force. Guide." Sloane did exactly that. The prototype drifted into the runoff lane, tires humming over textured pavement. They came to a stop a safe distance from the barrier. The engine idled, innocent again. For 3 seconds, there was silence. Then, Sloane slammed her palm against the steering wheel. "What did you do?" she shouted. Desmond stared forward. "I didn't do anything," he said. "Someone else did." Sloane's breathing was ragged. On the big screen, the investors were no longer laughing. Ethan Griggs was no longer smiling. He was pale. Desmond turned his head and looked at Sloane. His voice softened, just enough to be human. "You almost died," he said, "and you don't even know who wanted you dead." Sloane stared at him, stunned, as if that possibility had never been allowed in her world. Security cars were already racing towards them. A helicopter of their own, a corporate one, hovered in the distance, the sound chopping the air. Sloane's eyes flicked towards it, then back to Desmond. "You're a security guard," she whispered. "How do you know all that?" Desmond unclicked his seatbelt slowly. "I wasn't always," he said, and that was the first time Sloane looked at him like he might be a person. Hours earlier, before the rooftop stunt, Desmond had been in the lobby doing exactly what invisible people do, cleaning up other people's mess. A junior executive had dropped a coffee, hot and dark, right in front of the security desk. Desmond moved to mop it before someone slipped. Sloane came through the revolving doors at the same time, flanked by assistants and cameras. She looked at the spill and stepped right into it, deliberately, letting the coffee splash her heel. Then she turned towards Desmond, like the spill was his fault. "You people can't even keep a floor clean," she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. Desmond kept mopping. "Sorry, ma'am," he said evenly. Sloane's eyes narrowed, hunting for a reaction. "Get on your knees," she said. The lobby went still. A couple of people pretended to check their phones. Someone in HR turned away as if they had not heard. Sloane tilted her head. "Kneel. Pick up the pieces. Do it properly." A glass stirrer had shattered in the coffee. Tiny shards glinted under the bright white lobby lights. Desmond paused, not because he was about to refuse, because he was measuring the room. He saw Ethan Griggs by the lifts, watching. He saw Ethan's phone light up. A message flashed on the screen for half a second. 15th. No fail, or your family pays. Ethan's face tightened. Desmond's chest went cold, not with fear, with recognition. Pressure like that makes people do ugly things. Desmond knelt, picked up the shards carefully, and kept his face blank. Sloane smiled, satisfied. "Good," she said. "Know your place." Desmond stood, disposed of the broken glass, and went back to his post. And as Sloane walked away, he noticed something on her bag. A tag, leather, embossed with initials, SW. But there was another tag, half hidden, a temporary one with a barcode, a shipping label, a supplier code, one Desmond recognized from a different life. A supplier that had once tried to push defective parts through a safety program, the kind of supplier who changed names when lawsuits got too loud. He memorized it. That night, after the building emptied, Desmond did what quiet men do when they are tired of being stepped on. He started listening harder. He walked the corridors with his torch. He checked doors. He watched cameras. He let executives talk near him like he was furniture. And he heard it. In a conference room on the 32nd floor, Ethan Griggs speaking into a phone on speaker, voice low and shaking. "I'm doing it," Ethan said. "But it has to look like a failure. It has to look like her." A different voice came through, smooth, dangerous. "You get paid when she's gone," the voice said. 15th. No drama, no mistakes. Ethan swallowed. "She's still the face of the company." "She's the problem," the voice said. "Her father promised things he didn't deliver. Debts don't die with old men." Desmond stood in the hallway, hidden by shadow, listening like his life depended on it. Because it did. Because if they could kill the CEO to settle a debt, they could kill a security guard for overhearing the plan. Desmond backed away silently. He went down to the security office, pulled up the schedule for the prototype. Demo drive, live stream, investors present, CEO driving, the 15th, 2 days away. Desmond stared at the screen until his eyes burned. Then he made a decision. He could walk away, let the rich eat each other. He had every reason to. But a memory rose in him, uninvited. A test driver with shaking hands after a crash, a limp that never healed, a man who had trusted the people in suits. Desmond exhaled slowly. "No," he muttered, "not again." He didn't go to Sloane, not yet. People like Sloane do not believe warnings from people they don't respect. He went to someone else, Janice Holloway, a woman most people barely noticed because she was older and quiet and always carried a clipboard like armor. Janice ran executive operations. She scheduled the board. She knew where bodies were buried, metaphorically and sometimes literally. Desmond found her late in the copy room, alone. She looked up when he entered, eyes sharp behind reading glasses. "You're working late," she said. "So are you," Desmond replied. Janice watched him for a moment, then nodded toward the door. "Say it," she said. "Whatever you came to say." Desmond lowered his voice. "Someone is messing with the prototype," he said. "And the demo on the 15th is not a demo, it's a setup." Janice did not gasp. She did not scoff. She simply went still. Then she asked one question. "Who?" she said. "I don't have a name," Desmond said. "But I heard the COO on the phone. He's scared, like someone is holding a knife to his neck." Janice's mouth tightened. "Ethan," she murmured. Desmond nodded. Janice exhaled through her nose and looked away, as if choosing whether to step into a storm. "You know," she said quietly, "the founder used to say the quiet people are the ones who catch the truth." Desmond blinked. "You knew him?" Janice's eyes softened for half a second. "I kept his calendar for 12 years, she said. "I kept his secrets longer." She opened a drawer, pulled out a key card, and slid it across the counter. Desmond stared at it. It was stamped R and D restricted. Janice leaned closer. "Do not be stupid with this," she said, "and do not get yourself killed trying to save someone who thinks you're dirt." Desmond's voice was low. "I'm not doing it for her," he said. "I'm doing it because it's wrong." Janice studied him. then nodded once, like she had just confirmed something she already suspected. "Be careful," she said. "And Desmond?" He looked up. She tapped the clipboard against her palm. "If you find anything connected to Robert Whitaker's death, you bring it to me first." Desmond froze. Sloane's father, the founder, dead in what the company called a test track accident 2 years ago. Desmond's throat tightened. "You think his death wasn't an accident?" he said. Janice did not answer directly. She only said, "People who inherit empires don't always inherit clean hands." Then she turned away, ending the conversation. Desmond walked out with the keycard in his pocket, feeling heavier than any weapon. That night, he entered the R&D wing. The lab was bright, sterile, white light reflecting off polished floors. The prototype sat inside on a platform, tethered like a wild animal. Desmond approached it slowly. He did not touch anything yet. He looked for the smallest signs: a seal that had been broken and reseated, a panel slightly misaligned, a screw with a different sheen. He found it. A service port cover that looked like it had been opened recently, not by the team, by someone in a hurry. He pulled out his phone and took a photo. Then he checked the workstation logs, not hacking, not breaking in, using the same access companies hand out to contractors like suites, because they never believe the threat comes from inside. A login record blinked on the screen. E. Griggs. Timestamp 1:12 a.m. Desmond's stomach knotted. He kept scrolling. There was a file name that made his blood run cold. Failsafe override test. Then another. Steer assist calibration. Desmond's hands stayed steady, but his mind raced. This was not a random bug. Someone was pushing the car towards a moment of failure in front of cameras. A failure that could kill. Desmond copied the visible logs onto a secure drive. Then he did something else. He opened a folder labeled Archive. Inside were older files, legacy reports, documents from before Sloane took full control. One file was locked, but the title showed anyway. Robert Whitaker, Final Review. Desmond stared at it. Robert Whitaker, the founder, Sloane's father, dead. A separate file sat beneath it. It was not locked. It looked like someone had forgotten to hide it. Its name was short, Crash Clip 11. Desmond clicked it. A video opened, security camera footage from a test track, a car moving fast, a sudden wobble, then a crash, violent but distant, the image shaking as the camera tried to keep up. A man's silhouette stumbled out, then collapsed. People ran. The clip ended. Desmond's jaw clenched. He clicked details. The file had been deleted once, then restored. And under last accessed, there was a name that did not belong there. S. Whitaker. Desmond's heart thudded. Sloane had accessed the crash file recently. Why? He could feel the story shifting. This was no longer just about a sabotage on the 15th. This was about a pattern. A company built on speed and silence. Desmond pocketed the drive and stepped away from the workstation. He was halfway out of the lab when he heard voices. He froze behind a pillar, the prototype's shadow swallowing him. 2 men entered, Ethan Griggs, and a man Desmond did not recognize at first until he saw the posture, relaxed, confident, the kind of confidence that comes from knowing consequences don't touch you. The man wore a suit, but he had the cold eyes of someone who had done uglier work than board meetings. Ethan's voice was tight. "It's ready." The man's voice was smooth. "It better be." Ethan swallowed. "She'll drive it. She'll be live. It'll look like a malfunction. And then it's over." "Good," the man said, "because my people don't like waiting." Ethan rubbed his bandaged wrist. "I didn't sign up for murder." The man chuckled softly. "You signed up for debt. Murder's just how debt collects sometimes." Ethan's breathing hitched. "After this," Ethan said, "I want out." The man's tone hardened. "After this you get paid, then you keep your mouth shut. That's how out works." Desmond pressed his back to the pillar, forcing himself to stay silent. His phone was in his pocket. He slid his hand down slowly, started recording audio without looking. Ethan spoke again, voice cracking. "If anything goes wrong," he said, "if she survives, I'm dead." The man stepped closer, low and lethal. "If she survives," he said, "you'll wish you were dead." Desmond's stomach turned. Then Ethan said something that changed everything. "She's not even supposed to have the company," Ethan blurted. "Robert wanted to change the will. HR has the folder. He was going to cut her out." The suited man went still. "That's new," he said. Ethan nodded frantically. "I saw the paperwork. It's real. Robert had doubts. That's why he was on the track that day." Silence. Then the man said, "So she knew." Ethan whispered, "I think she did." Desmond's blood ran cold. The 15th was not just a payment date, it was a cleanup date, a way to remove Sloan and bury the past with her, or, depending on how you looked at it, a way to remove a problem that had grown too arrogant to control. The two men left the lab. Desmond stayed hidden until their footsteps faded. Then he exhaled slowly, like he'd been holding his breath for a year. His phone vibrated. A notification. Security system alert. Unauthorized access detected. He blinked, then his own screen flashed again. Incoming call, unknown number. Desmond stared at it. He should not answer. He answered. He kept his voice calm. "Security desk." A voice on the other end, low, amused. "You're curious," the voice said. Desmond's spine stiffened. "Who is this?" he asked. The voice chuckled. "You're standing too close to things that bite," it said. "Go back to your desk, Desmond." Desmond's throat tightened. "How do you know my name?" "You work in a building full of cameras," the voice said. "Everyone has a name." Desmond kept his tone steady. "If you're trying to scare me, it's not working." The voice softened, almost kind, which made it worse. "I'm not trying," it said. "I'm warning you." Then it added, "The 15th is coming. Don't be brave." The call ended. Desmond stared at his phone, pulse steady but heavy. This was bigger than a cruel CEO and a desperate COO. This was organized, planned, and now they knew he was listening. Desmond returned to the security office and sat down like nothing had happened. His colleague, a young guard named Trey, glanced over. "You good?" Trey asked. Desmond nodded. "Yeah." Trey yawned. "Man, you see the rooftop stunt they're planning? CEO's doing some viral nonsense." Desmond kept his eyes on the monitors. "It's not nonsense," he murmured. Trey frowned. "What?" "Nothing," Desmond said. But inside, Desmond was making moves, quiet ones. He sent the audio recording to Janice using an anonymous secure method she had once mentioned in passing. He backed up the logs. He marked the CCTV camera angles that covered the lab entrance. He memorized the names of the contractors scheduled to touch the prototype. Then he did the part that hurt his pride. He went to Sloan, not to beg, not to warn like a servant, to speak like a professional. He waited outside her office the next morning while assistants rushed by like he was invisible. When she finally emerged, she stopped when she saw him. Her eyes narrowed like she smelled trouble. "You," she said. "What do you want?" Desmond kept his hands visible, posture calm. "I need 30 seconds, he said. Sloan laughed. "You need a new job." "This is about the prototype," Desmond said. "Someone has tampered with it." Sloan's smile vanished for a beat, then returned, sharper. "That's not your lane," she said. "It becomes my lane when it can kill someone," Desmond replied. Sloan stepped closer, voice low. "Listen to me," she said. "People like you don't get to walk into my day and drop paranoia like it's a gift." Desmond met her eyes. "This isn't paranoia," he said. "It's procedure." Sloan scoffed. "Procedure from a security guard." Desmond's jaw tightened, then he softened his tone deliberately. "You're doing a live demo on the 15th, he said. "If I'm wrong, you lose nothing. If I'm right, you lose everything." Sloan stared at him, irritation warring with something else, fear trying not to show its face. Behind her, Ethan Griggs stepped out of a side hallway and froze when he saw Desmond. Their eyes met. Ethan's face went pale. Sloane noticed. "What is that?" she snapped at Ethan. "Why do you look like you've seen a ghost?" Ethan forced a laugh. "Nothing, just busy." Desmond watched Ethan closely. Ethan wouldn't look at him again. Sloane turned back to Desmond. "You want to feel important," she said. "That's what this is." Desmond's voice stayed even. "No," he said. "I want you not to die on camera." Sloane's eyes flashed. She stepped back and raised her voice just enough for her assistants to hear. "Get him out of my corridor," she said. "He's harassing me." Two security supervisors approached. Desmond did not resist. He simply looked at Sloane one last time. "I hope I'm wrong," he said quietly. Then he let them escort him away. As he walked, he felt the eyes on him. Pity, judgment, amusement. Sloane had turned him into a problem, publicly, and now he was a target, privately. That night, Desmond sat in his small flat with the heating barely on. His daughter Naya sat on the floor coloring. His son Miles played with a toy car, pushing it in circles. Desmond's mother, Lorraine, sat at the kitchen table, older hands wrapped around a mug. She watched him like she could see the weight in his chest. "You're quiet," she said. Desmond forced a smile. "Just tired," Lorraine nodded slowly. "Tired men make mistakes when they pretend they're fine." Desmond looked at his children. He thought about the call, the warning. He thought about walking away. He thought about the 15th. Then he thought about that test driver's limp, about the way people in suits hide behind timelines. Lorraine's voice softened. "What's happening?" Desmond hesitated, then told her the simplest version. "Someone's trying to make a car fail," he said, "with someone inside it." Lorraine's eyes sharpened. "And you're trying to stop it." Desmond exhaled. "Yeah." Lorraine leaned forward slightly. "Is the person inside that car someone you like?" she asked. Desmond almost laughed. "No." Lorraine nodded. "Then why?" Desmond swallowed. "Because if I don't," he said, "I become the kind of man who lets harm happen just because he thinks the victim deserves it." Lorraine's gaze held his. "That's the answer," she said quietly. "Now don't be stupid doing the right thing." Desmond nodded. The next day, he did not try to fix the sabotage like a villain. He did not make the car dangerous. He did the opposite. He prepared for survival. He went into the lab with Janice's keycard during a scheduled window when he could claim he was checking security. He documented everything he could without damaging anything. He placed a small recording device in the conference room where Ethan liked to take calls. He printed a single page, plain language, emergency steps for a driver to follow if steering assistance malfunctioned. No secrets, no hacks, just calm, simple actions that any trained safety person would recommend. He taped it inside the glove compartment. Then he waited. Launch day arrived, the 15th. The sky was bright and clean, the kind of blue that makes everything look honest. The test track was dressed like a stage, white tents, red banners, yellow cones, cameras on cranes, a crowd of executives, influencers, journalists. Sloane Whitaker stood at the center like a queen. She wore the same white suit, same red scarf, hair perfect, smile trained. The prototype gleamed under the sun. Ethan Griggs hovered near the edge, sweating despite the cool breeze. Janice Holloway stood near the media tent, calm, holding her clipboard like a shield. Desmond stood at the security barrier in his uniform, watching like a man watching the ocean right before a storm. Sloane stepped up to the microphone. "Apex Automotive is about the future," she announced. "Speed, safety, innovation." Desmond's mouth twitched slightly. Safety. Sloane's eyes swept the crowd, then landed on him. A smile crawled across her face. "Oh," she said into the mic, voice bright, "and I almost forgot. We have a special guest today." She pointed. "Our night guard, Desmond," she said. "He told me he's an expert." A few people laughed. Sloane's smile widened. "I thought we should honor his confidence," she said. "So, Desmond, come here." Desmond walked forward slowly, aware of cameras tracking his every step. Sloane held up the key fob. "Drive it," she said, loud. "One lap. If you can keep it clean, I'll give you my job." The crowd murmured, delighted. Desmond stopped in front of her. He looked at the key fob, then at her face. Then he said calmly, "No." The laughter stumbled. Sloane blinked. "Excuse me?" Desmond kept his tone respectful. "I won't drive it," he said. "But you can." Sloane's eyes narrowed. "I can already drive." Desmond nodded. "Then prove it. You wanted a show, be the show." The crowd leaned in. Ethan Griggs's face went even paler. Sloane hesitated. Then pride took over. "Fine," she said, snapping the key fob from his reach and turning towards the car. She climbed in. Desmond walked around and got into the passenger seat. Sloane glared at him. "I didn't invite you." Desmond buckled in. "You need a safety observer." Sloane scoffed, but she did not make him leave, because somewhere deep down she remembered how close she came on the rooftop. The engine started. The cameras rolled. The live stream went out. Sloane pulled onto the track. She accelerated with confidence, the car responding like a loyal animal at first. The crowd cheered. Desmond watched the dash. He watched the bend ahead. He watched Sloane's hands. And he watched Ethan Griggs standing near the tent, staring at the car like a man watching his own sentence being carried out. Halfway down the straight, the steering resistance began again. Sloane stiffened. "Not this again." Desmond's voice stayed calm. "Eyes up," he said. "Ease off. Do not fight it." Sloane's breath hitched. "It's doing it." "I know," Desmond said. "Follow the steps." "What steps?" she snapped. Desmond nodded towards the glove box without looking away from the road. "Open it," he said. "Read." Sloane stared at him. Then with one hand trembling, she popped the glove compartment. A single sheet stared back at her. Plain, simple, emergency guidance. Sloane's eyes flicked over it. Her throat bobbed. Desmond spoke softly, matching the paper. "Slow gradually," he said. "Keep straight. Gentle brake. Hazards. Guide. Don't yank." Sloane did it. She followed. The car resisted, then eased, then resisted again. The bend came. Sloane's eyes went wide. Desmond's voice sharpened slightly, not loud, firm. "Stay off the wall," he said. "Look where you want to go. Guide it." Sloane's hands moved, controlled now, not panicked. The car drifted into the runoff lane. They avoided the barrier by a car length. They rolled to a stop. Sloane sat frozen, breathing hard. For a second, she looked like a child who had just realized adults can die. Then rage flooded back. She turned on Desmond. "How did you know?" Desmond met her eyes. "Because someone wants you dead," he said, "and because I refused to let you die just so you could learn a lesson too late." Sloane stared at him, stunned. Outside, chaos erupted. People ran, cameras swung, phones recorded. Ethan Griggs stumbled backwards like he was about to faint. Janice Holloway walked forward with two men beside her. Not security, not company staff, men in plain clothes with badges. Sloane blinked. "Who are they?" Desmond's voice stayed calm. "Accountability," he said. Janice opened the passenger door. Her eyes met Desmond's. A small nod. Then she turned to Sloane. "Sloane," Janice said, voice steady, "you need to step out of the vehicle." Sloane's face hardened. "Who are you bringing to my event?" Janice did not flinch. "I sent what I found," Janice said, "and they responded." One of the badgemen spoke. "Ms. Whitaker," he said, "we need to ask you some questions about tampering, attempted homicide, and the death of Robert Whitaker." Sloane's face drained of color. Desmond watched her, not with satisfaction, with something heavier. Because this was the moment where power either admits the truth or tries to crush it harder. Sloane looked around at the cameras, the crowd, the eyes. Then she pointed at Ethan Griggs. "It was him," she snapped. "It had to be him. He runs operations." Ethan's voice cracked. "Sloane, no, please." The badgeman moved towards Ethan. Ethan panicked, and panic makes people confess. "He made me do it," Ethan blurted, voice breaking. Not her, not just her. Them, the supplier people, the debt, the threats. The badgeman's eyes sharpened. Who threatened you? Ethan looked at Sloane, then away, as if choosing between death and shame. Then he said the name. Not a person's name. A family name. A name that made Janice's jaw tighten. Desmond felt it in his gut. Organized crime was not a theory. It was a shadow with a ledger. Ethan's shoulders shook. They said the 15th, he cried. They said if I didn't make the car fail, my kids would pay. Sloane's eyes widened, genuine fear now. What are you talking about? Ethan laughed once, broken. You think you're the only one trapped? You think you're the only one with blood on your hands? Sloane snapped. I don't have blood on my hands. Ethan stared at her, eyes wet. Then why did you watch the crash clip? He whispered. Why did you open file 11? Sloane froze. The air shifted. The badgemen exchanged looks. Janice stared at Sloane, face unreadable. Desmond's stomach tightened again. This was it. The buried part. The part no one wanted on camera. And yet the cameras were still rolling. Sloane's voice dropped. Turn those cameras off. No one moved. Desmond spoke quietly, not to the crowd, to her. You don't get to control the room anymore, he said. Sloane's eyes snapped to him, fury and fear colliding. You! She hissed. Who are you? Desmond held her gaze. Then he said it, simply. I'm the guy you tried to turn into a joke, he said. And before this uniform, I was a safety engineer. Before that, I tested vehicles for the military. And before that, I learned what happens when people with power decide other lives are acceptable losses. Sloane stared, like she was seeing the outline of a person she had erased. One of the badgemen looked at Desmond. You have evidence? Desmond nodded. Logs, audio, timestamps. Janice lifted her clipboard. I have corroboration. The badgemen nodded and moved decisively. Ethan was cuffed first, not because he was the only guilty one, because he was the first domino. As they walked him away, Ethan turned back to Sloane, voice shaking. I'm sorry, he said, but you don't get to call yourself innocent. You built this culture. You made it easy. Sloane stood there, trembling, cameras in her face, the crowd stunned. Desmond watched her shoulders rise and fall, and for the first time, she looked small. Not because she lost money, because she lost the story she told herself. Now, real quick, I want you to think about something. If you were Desmond, would you have walked away? After being humiliated, after being told to kneel, after being treated like dirt, would you have let the car fail and said, she deserved it? Or would you have done what he did and saved someone who didn't deserve your mercy? Drop your answer in the comments, because that choice says a lot about who we are when nobody is rewarding us for being good. Sloane didn't speak again until later that evening. The event had been shut down. The media had scattered like birds. Board members argued in closed rooms. The stock price dipped, then surged, then dipped again as rumors fought for space. Desmond sat in a small interview room inside the building, still in uniform, hands folded, calm. Janice sat across from him with a bottle of water. She slid it towards him. You did the right thing, she said. Desmond nodded once. Doesn't feel like it yet. Janice gave a tired smile. It never does at first. The door opened. Sloane walked in. No cameras, no assistants, no red scarf. Just a woman in a white blouse with the sleeves rolled up, hair slightly messy, eyes red from anger or fear or both. She looked at Desmond like she did not know how to speak to someone without stepping on them. Janice stood. I'll give you 2 minutes. Sloane's eyes flicked to Janice. Stay. Janice's gaze held firm. 2 minutes. Janice left. Sloane sat slowly, as if the chair was a negotiation. She stared at Desmond. I should fire you, she said. Desmond blinked. You tried. Sloane's jaw tightened. Then she surprised herself. I almost died, she whispered. Desmond nodded. Yes. Sloane's eyes glistened. And you still saved me. Desmond didn't soften. I didn't save you because you're nice, he said. I saved you because human life isn't a performance. Sloane flinched, like the truth actually landed. She swallowed. Why are they asking about my father? She asked, voice smaller now. Desmond paused. He chose his words carefully. Because someone in your company thinks his death is part of a pattern, he said, and because you accessed the crash footage. Sloane's hands tightened into fists. I accessed it because I can't sleep, she said, because every time I close my eyes, I see that moment. I see him on the track. And everyone told me it was an accident. Everyone told me to move on. Her voice broke slightly. And I did, she said, almost angry at herself. I moved on. I became what they needed, ruthless, untouchable, because softness gets eaten. Desmond listened, face still calm, but his eyes sharper. Sloane leaned forward. You think I killed him, she said. Desmond held her gaze. I think your company kills people with silence, he replied. Sometimes on purpose, sometimes by neglect, but always by choosing profit over truth. Sloane's eyes watered. Then she wiped them quickly, like tears were unacceptable. Ethan, she said. He did this. Desmond nodded. Ethan did what desperate people do under pressure, but he didn't build the pressure cooker. Sloane looked away, a long breath. Then, quietly, she said, What do you want? Desmond blinked. Excuse me? Sloane's voice steadied, shifting back towards control. You saved my life, she said. You have leverage. What do you want? Desmond stared at her for a long moment. Then he said, I want the people at the bottom of this company to stop being disposable. Sloane's face tightened. That's vague. Desmond's tone stayed calm. It's not vague when you live it, he said. Security, janitorial, reception, contractors, better wages, benefits, proper reporting lines, a whistleblower system that actually protects people. Sloane scoffed weakly. You want me to rewrite the company? Desmond nodded once. Yes. Sloane leaned back, staring at the ceiling like she was calculating. Then she looked at him again. And what about you? She asked. You want a promotion? A title? Desmond's mouth twitched slightly. I want you to stop treating uniforms like they erase souls, he said. Sloane swallowed. Then she did something Desmond did not expect. She stood. She walked to the door. Then she paused and turned back. I humiliated you, she said, voice tight. On camera. Desmond nodded. Twice. Sloane's eyes held his, and for once there was no smirk. I want to fix it, she said. Desmond didn't rush to forgive. He didn't give her comfort. He only said, Then fix it in the same place you broke it. The next morning, Apex Automotive held an emergency press conference. The same bright white stage, the same cameras, the same hungry faces. But this time, Sloane walked out alone. No entourage, no jokes. Her red scarf was gone. She stepped to the microphone and looked into the lens like she was about to walk into a storm on purpose. My name is Sloane Whitaker, she said, and yesterday you saw a failure that could have killed me. The crowd murmured. Sloane continued. You also saw a man in a security uniform keep his composure and save my life, she said. And you did not see what led to that moment. She paused. Then she said it. I have treated people in this company with cruelty, she said. I have used power like it was a right instead of a responsibility. And I have allowed a culture where deadlines matter more than human beings. People shifted uncomfortably. Sloane's voice remained steady. Effective immediately, she said. Our COO, Ethan Griggs, has been arrested and removed. We are cooperating with federal investigators regarding sabotage and external threats. We are also reopening internal investigations linked to the death of our founder, Robert Whitaker. A wave of noise. Sloane raised her hand. And to the people who work in this building, the ones you don't see on magazine covers, she said, security, cleaning staff, contractors, reception, cafeteria, all of you. Her eyes flicked towards the side of the stage. Desmond stood there, not smiling, not performing, just present. Sloane's voice softened slightly. I owe you more than words, she said, so here is what will change. She listed it. Not perfectly, but clearly. A wage uplift, benefits for contractors, a safety and ethics reporting system monitored by an independent board, real consequences for harassment and abuse, a foundation funded not by marketing budgets but by executive compensation cuts. And then she did the one thing that made the room go truly quiet. She turned towards Desmond. "Desmond Price," she said, "I humiliated you. I made you kneel. I turned your dignity into entertainment." Desmond held her gaze. Sloane swallowed. "I apologize," she said, publicly, without excuses. The cameras zoomed in. This was the moment people would replay, not the near crash. The apology. Sloane continued, voice shaking slightly now. "And because apologies without action are just theater," she said, "I'm offering Desmond the role of head of safety and integrity at Apex Automotive, reporting directly to the board, with full authority to halt any program that compromises human life." The crowd erupted in murmurs. Desmond stepped forward. He did not look at the cameras. He looked at Sloane. He spoke into the microphone with calm precision. "I'll accept," he said, "on one condition." Sloane blinked. "Name it." Desmond said, "You attend the training too." A ripple ran through the crowd. Sloane's face tightened, pride flaring. Then she caught herself. She nodded once. "I will," she said. Desmond stepped back. And just like that, the status flipped. Not because he was secretly rich, not because he was royalty, because competence and integrity walked into a room and refused to kneel for ego. Weeks passed. Investigations expanded. A supplier network was exposed. Threats were traced. Arrests followed quietly. Ethan Griggs turned state's evidence, and Apex Automotive's board began to learn what it feels like when the people at the bottom stop being silent. Desmond took his children to the test track one afternoon when it was empty. No cameras, no banners, just sunlight and quiet. Nia ran along the fence, laughing. Miles pushed his toy car along the pavement. Desmond stood with Lorraine, his mother, watching them. Lorraine nudged him gently. "So," she said, "you still tired?" Desmond smiled, small. "Different kind of tired," Lorraine nodded. "The kind that means you're building something." Desmond looked out at the track. He thought about the 15th. He thought about the phone call. He thought about how close a human life can come to ending because someone needed a number to look good on a slide. Then his phone buzzed. A message from Janice. "Come to my office now." Desmond's smile faded. He walked into Janice's office 10 minutes later. Janice closed the door behind him and slid a thick envelope across the desk. No logo, no sender, just his name written in neat handwriting. Desmond frowned. "What is this?" Janice's eyes were serious. "It was in Robert Whitaker's private safe," she said. "It was labeled for you." Desmond stared at her. "For me?" "He didn't know me." Janice shook her head slowly. "He knew more than people thought," she said. "Open it." Desmond tore the envelope carefully. Inside was a small metal key on a ring and a single card, a case number, a bank name, and 4 words written beneath it. "File 11 tells truth." Desmond's throat tightened. Janice watched him. "This doesn't end with Ethan," she said quietly. "And it doesn't end with Sloane either." Desmond closed his hand around the key. He looked out the window at the shining building, the clean glass, the polished image. And he realized something. Sometimes the first battle is just the invitation. He exhaled slowly. "All right," he murmured. "Let's see what truth costs." And that's where I'll leave you. Because the lesson in this story is simple, but it's not soft. Power without humility makes you blind. And when you treat people like they're invisible, you miss the very hands that could save you. If this hit home, drop a comment. Have you ever been judged by your job, your uniform, or the way you look? And have you ever watched someone underestimate the wrong person? Like the video if you believe dignity matters. Subscribe if you want more stories where accountability actually shows up. This story is fictional. It's designed for reflection, not to target real people. But the principle is real. See the human before life forces you to.